Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I want to thank you for visiting Hawaii, and I especially would like to thank your wife for the time that she spent with the family of the people who were shot at the shipyard and also the survivor. Please extend my thanks to her. Over the past few weeks, I have met with several of your colleagues, including Assistant Secretary Gertz. In fact, that was only 2 days ago, I think, or yesterday, to discuss the importance of modernizing our shipyards. And of course, the delay in repair and all of that was just touched upon by Admiral. So I can't overemphasize the importance of us continuing to go through with the modernization plan. And just to let everybody know, the Pearl Harbor Shipyard, which is one of the 4 public shipyards in our country, and Pearl Harbor contributes nearly $1 billion to Hawaii's economy every year and employs close to 6,500 personnel, including nearly 1,000 engineers. It is the largest employer of its kind in Hawaii. And due to the current inefficient arrangement at the shipyard, it is necessary that the optimization plan be implemented to provide much-needed updates. And so I know you are very well aware we need a new dry dock and a production facility. Funding the critical shipyard modernization program will require a significant portion of the Navy's budget. Does the Navy's fiscal year 2021 budget fully fund the shipyard modernization plan so that it will be implemented on time? And I'm talking about the 4 shipyards, not just the one in Hawaii.
Yes, Senator. This is a high priority for us in the Navy, and it is a 20-year commitment of $23 billion, I believe, over 20 years. So as long as we're here, we'll continue to push for this. We're sequencing in the work in the most logical possible way that we can to address the things that you mentioned, which is how the work flows through the shipyard. So we ensure that we don't do work now that then we're going to have to take out as part of the longer-term strategy. So yes, it's funded. I believe we're spending almost $600 million on this year, and that will continue.
Is $600 million enough to keep to the timelines that we have for the modernization program?
I believe it is. I believe it is. I think when we looked at this and we thought about the work and how we would push it through the 4 different yards, it made sense to do it in this way. Obviously, we'd love to have more, to be able to do more, but we also had to think about how we don't disrupt the current work that's in there at the same time.
And of course, in Hawaii, I'd like to see some concrete actually being poured for the dry dock and the production facility sometime soon. Mr. Secretary, in conversations that I've had with subcontractors that support our shipbuilding programs, I've heard that the guidance associated with the Cybersecurity Maturity Modernization Certification, CMMC, has been somewhat confusing, making it difficult for businesses and contractors to comply. What can you tell me about the current state of the CMMC framework? And I'm told by the subs that there are changing requirements that come down the pike, and they do their best to try and comply. But with regard to the new one, which is the CMMC, what timelines are in place for educating, certifying, and auditing our defense industrial base, keeping in mind that there are thousands of suppliers, and I assume that all of them need to provide certification regarding the security requirements?
Yes, Senator, that's a great question. If you allow me to get you specifics on where we are in the implementation to that, I will do that. We've elevated our cyber security awareness to the highest levels in the department with a new office there. I'm sure they're monitoring this, and I can get you specific details. We understand there's pushback from the supplier base, particularly the smaller subs who see this as an additional cost for them, and we're trying to figure out ways that we can help them perhaps create some shared services for them that they could use at that level. But let me get you a specific answer.
I think that's really important because we have literally, as I said, thousands and thousands of suppliers, and there's always that weak link possibility if we don't provide them with the kind of support they need to comply. Last week, Admiral Aquilino, he's the commander of PAC Fleet, issued guidance instructing Navy vessels departing from port visits to remain at sea for at least 14 days before pulling into another port in order to monitor sailors for coronavirus symptoms. And this week, the 6th Fleet followed suit. How is the Navy preparing for coronavirus, and how do you anticipate that the virus will impact the Navy's ability to operate overseas? Admiral?
Senator, we're following the department's guidance, which essentially tries to minimize contact, particularly in those areas where you know there's a heavy concentration of coronavirus, and it manifests in different ways in different geographic locations. We're receiving excellent reporting from the World Health Organization through to CDC and down to the department on specific areas. Italy and Bahrain are really good examples. The Korean Peninsula is another good example. And so we're trying to be preemptive and preventative in terms of limiting numbers of large gatherings, as an example. On a day-to-day basis, we're making decisions on closing DoD schools based on what we're seeing in terms of caseloads at local hospitals. All of our medical personnel have been trained in the symptoms, and if they suspect that somebody does have corona, we test for it, and then we send that off to a lab to be confirmed. But we also quarantine those people and their families until we ascertain whether or not they're actually infected.
Do you have test kits?
No, we don't. We don't yet, but that's not just a problem for DoD. But I think that we're getting to a better place in terms of the production to allow us to be able to distribute those out to the force.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for your indulgence and allowing me to go over, and I do have some other questions for the record. Thank you.